Good day, folks. Welcome to another episode of Andrew's Life. I hope everyone's doing great so far. I just want to make a video about living in Alabama, which I think will be helpful for many people wanting to live in Alabama. And this video can also be good for other states similar to Alabama. But I'm going to focus primarily on Alabama because that's where I currently reside. So, as many of you know, I've been living down here for 2 years, with the exception of the 5 months that I left and I went up to Indiana. But for the last 2 months, just about, I've been back in Alabama. Now, for starters, a lot of people are looking into living in Alabama because Alabama, compared to many regions of the country, offers a lower cost of living, especially in the Department of Housing, which for most of us is the single biggest expense that we have in our lives. And yes, housing here in Alabama is cheaper than many other regions of the country. It's cheaper down here than Indiana. And Indiana is pretty cheap compared to other regions, compared to other states. Now, one thing which you need to bear in mind, however, before you come here to Alabama thinking that you're going to come here, you're going to do better financially, you're going to save a crap load of money because housing is so cheap, is for starters, it depends on what occupation that you work in. Now, compared to other states, Alabama's economy is going to be smaller. And compared to the wages of other states, the wages in Alabama are going to also be lower, considerably lower, to be quite frank. And I kind of touched on this a little before, but I'm going to touch on it again. I mean, my channel is starting to grow, and I just want to inform as many people as possible about moving here to Alabama. So when you move down here, you're armed with the proper information in concerns to living down here from a financial standpoint. Oh, I'm gonna use Indiana as an example. Now, and I kind of told you guys this before. Now, for me, if I was strictly focused on maximizing my ability to earn money working a 9 to 5, I would have stayed in Indiana. I'm gonna tell you straight up. And despite the fact that the housing prices down here are lower and my cost of living in general down here is lower compared to what it was when I was in Indiana, if I wanted to stay focused on money, my best bet would have been to stay in Indiana. Because in Indiana, my wages were higher, and my wages up in Indiana were so much higher compared to down here that even though housing prices up there were for me a little bit more expensive, I still would have came out. I mean, I still would have done a little better financially up there than what I'm doing down here when it comes to working a 9 to 5. And there's a lot of you that if you come down here and you don't bother to do your due diligence beforehand, you'll come down here and you'll find that out for yourself, except you'll find that out the hard way. And I want you guys to learn the easy way of rather or rather not Alabama is going to be a good choice for you when it comes to your finances. Now, if you want to come down here because you want to be close to beaches, you don't want to deal with cold weather, that's a whole different conversation, and which is not what this video is going to be about. So, like, whatever occupation that you do in your current state, what I would suggest you do is you can always look online and see what the wages are going to be down here, and then if you're looking to rent, you can go and look at the cost of, and you can look at what an apartment would rent for whatever you're looking for, rather it be a studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, you know, or if you're looking to purchase, you can look at the price of housing, like whatever type of home you're looking to buy, big, small, Are you looking to be in the city, the suburbs? Are you looking for a regular sized lot, or are you looking for acreage? And then, of course, you're going to want to come down here in person. Like whatever region or area of Alabama that you desire to reside in, you're going to want to come down in person and check the area out and get a feel for yourself about the area, and maybe talk to a couple of the locals and just get some information about the area. Now, I've done a crap load of videos on this channel about different communities throughout the state of Alabama. But there might be certain things that you might have a concern about, and I may have not done a video about those topics. You might find some super small town or even a smaller city that I may have not gotten around to recording yet. Or even if I did record a video, there might be some concerns you might have, and I may not know how to address them because I never lived in the area full time. So that's why wherever you're wanting to move to, go there in person, talk to a couple of people that live in the area, and just talk to them for maybe 5 minutes and get some information. And again, whatever occupation you're looking to get into, compare the wages and then compare the cost of living. Because when you do those type of comparisons, sometimes if you're just focused on strictly the money aspect of your relocating, you might find that you're better off staying in your current state than you are coming down here to Alabama. Because in your current state, your overall cost of living might be higher. But then when you take into consideration the wages that you're making in your current state versus how much lower the wages down here are going to be for most of you who come down here from other states, you might be thinking, okay, well, yeah, cost of living is a little bit more expensive in my current state, but I'm also doing better financially in my current state because the wages are much better. And another thing you're going to want to take into consideration when moving to Alabama is, now, for those of you that are looking to move to rural Alabama, now I will admit, I mean, for starters, I love where I live. I love the community. I love my house. I like my yard. I like my entire setup. One major complaint I have, however, is when it comes to the job market. Now, where I live, I mean, the closest major city to me is an hour and a half away. What I mean by a major city here in Alabama, I'm talking either Huntsville, Birmingham, or Montgomery or Mobile. I'm an hour and a half away from the closest major city. Now, if I was able to rewind back to when I first purchased this home back in 2022, what I would have done was I would have been a little bit more patient, and I would have waited until a house came up for sale within my price range that would have been no further than an hour from a major city. And the reason being is, obviously, if you're living within an hour or closer to a major city, there's going to be a lot more employment opportunities. You're going to have access to a larger and stronger economy compared to living further like I currently reside. I mean, and also the pay typically is going to be better. And if you're and I hate to talk about race, but it's necessary for me to talk about it. But I'm going to just say it like this: if you're a minority, sometimes when you get a job and you're working at a company that's located in a super small town, and within that county, that might be the best paying company in the area. Sometimes you might run into certain employees that are, you know, you might run into certain employees that are bigots. They're bigots. Now, I'm not saying that bigotry doesn't happen in larger cities because it does, but typically in a larger city, if you got someone that's exhibiting bigot-like behavior, they're going to typically be checked by either a fellow employee or they're going to be checked by the higher ups. Because typically, when you're closer into a larger city, people just don't deal with that bigotry stuff all that well. I mean, the tolerance is going to be lower because a company that you might be that person might be working for, they're not going to want to ruin their reputation and lose their money. They're not going to want to risk any type of a lawsuit because you got some bigot knucklehead running off at the mouth. So, if someone like that is working at a company that's in the city or closer to a major city, either A, they're going to get checked, or B, they're going to be terminated. As where if you work for a company that's in a smaller town, in a much smaller community, with a smaller economy, further from larger cities and larger economies, the chances of even higher ups in that company being a little bigot like are going to be greater. Now, I'm not saying this is going to always be the case. I'm just saying, in general, from my experience so far, that tends to be the case. Like when you work for a company that's further from larger cities and larger economies, as I was saying a second ago, even some of your higher ups are going to exhibit bigot like behavior. So, if I get offended over what someone said to me, or I walk in on a conversation and I get offended on what they're talking about, and I decide to report it to the higher ups, basically, I might as well just go ahead and turn around and talk to the brick wall that's sitting behind me. I would probably get more out of that than talking to some of the higher ups at some of those companies. I'm just being honest. So, so yeah, I mean, I would say if you're a minority, especially if you're a minority and you're working and you want to live in rural Alabama, but you work a 9 to 5 storefront job, my suggestion would be if you want to live in rural Alabama, pick a community that's no further than an hour from a major city. And again, I'm talking either Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, or even Mobile. Because you go too far, I mean, when it comes to your job, you go too far from any major city, you go much further than an hour, that's when you start running into situations like I'm discussing. Cause I know a lot of you are looking to move to Alabama or places similar to Alabama for a lower cost of living, and you're hoping for your money to stretch a little further. Some of you want to live in rural communities so you can buy an abundance of land and have your homestead or whatever. And I just want to make this video just to kind of help you guys out when it comes to living in Alabama. And and honestly, I think Alabama could be a wonderful place for people to reside, provided that before you come down here, you do your due diligence, or rather, before you sign on a dotted line to pay rent, or before you sign on a dotted lines to purchase a home, you come down here and you do your due diligence. So, provided that you do all your due diligence, before you move down here with all your stuff and you blow a bunch of money on buying a house or signing a lease, even provided that you do due diligence beforehand. I feel Alabama, for many people, could be a wonderful place. And of course, it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, if you come here to Alabama, if you come here anywhere in Alabama, and you're looking for, let's say, in Atlanta, you're not gonna find it. If you come here to Alabama and you're looking for a North or a South Carolina, or you're looking for Texas, most likely you'll probably be disappointed. That's why I say, watch my videos. I got a whole crap ton of videos about different communities throughout the state of Alabama. But as I always tell you, before you move somewhere, go to that area in person and visit and get a feel of the area for yourself. Talk to a couple of people. And when it comes to the job market, uh, you know, whatever occupation you're in, yeah, what the wages are going to be here in Alabama compared to where you're currently residing. And then once you look at the wages, look at the cost of living. Like however, you know, however it is you're wanting to, whatever lifestyle that you're wanting to live down here in Alabama, look at what the cost of that would be in comparison to the wages you're going to earn, and whatever lifestyle you're wanting to live or you're living in your current state, look at the lifestyle that you're living and then look at the wages up there. Or maybe in your current state, you might be able to find some rural land. So look at the cost of rural land, for an example, in your home state, and then look at the wages of your home state and compare that to Alabama. And there is some of you that when you take the time and you do that comparison, you're gonna find that financially you'll be better off staying in your current state than moving here to Alabama. I mean, yeah, housing down here might be cheaper than most other states, but the wages down here are gonna also be lower than in most other states. Like for an example, you know, I used to live in Indiana. Now, if I wanted to, I mean, many jobs, many warehouse and factory jobs up in Indiana on a low end will start you out at $18 an hour. Down here in Alabama, you'll be lucky to make, I would say on the high end, you'll make more like 15. So that's just a small example of what I'm talking about when I talk about the differences in the wages. I mean, here in Alabama, there's still jobs that pay $9 and $10 an hour. Up in Indiana, I haven't seen a job that paid that low in ages. So, yeah, do your due diligence on stuff like that. And I could probably think of a few more things to say on this video about moving to Alabama, but I don't want to make the video too long here. So I'm going to stop right here. If you like what I do, make sure you give videos like this a thumbs up. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. And on that note, stay blessed. I'll catch you guys on the next one.